Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 52. I just saw how Ben spelled that in the top left.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Welcome to episode 52 of the Clutch Dump, and we are covering Memorial Day weekend racing for those of us obviously in the States. But we had two of the three races that comprise the Motorsport Triple Crown. We had the Coca-Cola 600 and more, and we're going to be covering it all on this episode of the Clutch Dump.
20 years of trying, 20 years.
And Senna sprints away.
Down the straight, Rossi's right in behind Lorenzo.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 is won by Takuma Sato. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
Before we go any further, obviously, a huge thank you to the men and women who serve and have paid the ultimate price. And as cliche as that is, as I was going to dinner with my wife, she asked me what it meant to me. And I think the best way to put it is for us to be sitting here doing anything that we want to do. They gave their lives so that we could do that. And obviously words are not enough. So
absolutely well said.
The men and women and all the families of veterans who have paid the ultimate price. I don't even feel like shifting gears into plugs. So let's probably start with the biggest race in the world by the numbers, besides the Coke 600, the longest race on an oval track at probably the pinnacle of North American motorsports, the Indianapolis 500. And overall opinion of the race was very good.
Fantastic. It was a good race.
Like the Coke 600, it got to a point where I was like, these goddamn cautions and red flags. And I know why they did it, but it got to a point where I was like, guys, for the love of God, please keep it out of the wall.
Can we do one lap? I just want one lap.
Yeah, exactly. Please, can we just do 2.5 miles, please?
No one hit anything.
Exactly. Before we get into the specifics, though, I do want to say, Ben, I kept track. And for the first 75 laps of the race, more laps occurred during the commercial breaks than laps televised.
That's pretty good. I did not.
Which is over 30% of the race occurred, where a majority of it was while we were in commercial break. Because
That's
I told Shelby, I was like, we literally had 4 laps. And then it would go back to commercial break. And when it came back, 10 laps would have passed. And I'm like,
right.
Whoa. Like, guys.
Yeah, so much has happened. Sadly, I didn't get to, I say sadly, I wasn't actually able to watch most of the race live because
this is the first one I got to watch all of, actually.
Because we had some people over. So we were down at the river hanging out, barbecuing things.
Doing things.
So I went back and I rewatched all of it last night.
That's the way to do it, because you can skip right through all that crap.
Yeah. But the bit I did get to watch live is the last 30 laps of it,
which was
chef's
kiss.
Ridiculous. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah.
But before we get into the results, there were some major points. Number one,
we have not only major points, but we have controversies, big controversies in the Coke 600 and the Indy 500, to the point where if you're a fan of the sport, that's all anybody's talking about. So we're definitely going to be getting into those.
As far as crashes, there were a lot because it's the Indy 500 and there's bound to be people crashing. Also, it's IndyCar. There's bound to be people crashing.
Yeah.
And sadly, Romain Grosjean was one of them. This has become quite common, I feel like, for Romain Grosjean this season. Both the opening round in St. Petersburg and here.
Well, that's true, but traditionally, Grosjean's really struggled on the ovals, which...
Right, that's right, because he crashed in Texas as well.
Yeah.
They crashed here.
Yep.
So, yeah, Roman, we need to figure out what's going on with that one, bud.
Please. You crawled out of a car that was literally lit on fire. Please put it together.
Drive a car in a circle. So he had a one-man crash. However, someone who did not have a one-man crash is Kyle Kirkwood, which if you have been on the interwebs for the past 24 or 48 hours, you will have seen a video of the purple. Is it purple? We'll call it purple. The purple and white, pink and white, whatever.
Yeah,
the AutoNation IndyCar going upside down and sliding across the track, which
well, there were a lot of people saying that they think the onboard that we got that was the cockpit view should be nominated for a like sports casting camera angle of the year or camera shot of the year.
It's a fantastic video. It's on the IndyCar Instagram.
Like it really
it's also
is,
terrifying.
Yeah.
It's very scary, but honestly, it was pretty funny to watch because if you look at it, he's upside down, still sliding, and like flips up his visor and is like talking to his crew chief. Like
the worst part is when you see him like pull his head up in his helmet to look up to like make sure he's okay. That freaked me out because I was like, yeah, you can see the terror in his eyes because you don't know whether.
Well, because I suppose when you're in an IndyCar, you never have to look that way. You don't have to look up ever.
He said in the interview that he saw all the sparks, but he couldn't tell if they were sparks or if it was catching on fire.
Right. Yeah, he had no idea.
He's like, I'm gonna shit myself type.
Right. And also left rear tire on his car ejected itself and went over the fence.
Somehow sheared
and
tie down. The tether.
Yes.
And launched it. So on first live broadcast when that happened, I noticed the tire right away, and I literally I was like, "Babe, look! Like a tire went over the fence."
There's a tire flying into the crowd.
And then after 3 or 4 replays, they're like, "Oh wow, look, a tire!" And I was like,
"Why did no one notice this?"
And I'll just mention it since we're talking about it. The tire flew over the fence and plowed into a sweet lady's Chevy Cruze, and she drove to the track. And so the organizers of the race went out and found the owner of the vehicle, and then they brought her onto the track so that she could kiss the bricks, get all the photos, do
all the things.
So that was cool. But there were plenty of memes where it's like, who's going to pay for this? And it's like, you. So
yeah,
kind of awkward. I mean, I still want to know who actually is going to pay for that.
I'm actually kind of curious. I don't know how insurance deals with that.
Is there a waiver saying I volunteer my car to be damaged? Like, who knows?
Well, those 2 crashes were the only real talking points that I had because I was actually just interested in the race and didn't write anything down.
Well, I have a non-racing talking point.
Please.
So there's a video that's circulating on TikTok and now on Twitter, and the tweet was there was at least one person on their best behavior today at the Indy500. Someone was on the infield partying with an ankle monitor on.
Nice. No way. That's I have to find that.
You don't have a Twitter, do you?
No, I don't.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm a normal person, yeah.
I'm going to email it to you. It is.
Please.
Yeah, no, it's absurd.
That's awesome.
No way someone was like, okay, I'm supposed to stay at my house and the FBI is going to come find me. I'm going to go to the Indy 500 and risk it all. So that was...
Dude, that's so fun. That's amazing. I love that. That person's my hero.
Right.
I mean, unless they did some horrible things, which, by the way, don't do bad things, guys. But
don't do
if you're gonna do bad things and have an ankle monitor, you should go and party it up with the boys at Indy 500.
But if you do, make sure it's funny.
Make sure it's funny and ends up on television.
I don't know how to highlight something in an email, so I'm sending you an email with the link, but it's highlighted black.
The man who runs social media cannot figure out how to work email.
I can't figure out email. 2 separate things.
Unfortunate. They're one and the same.
So let's see. Let me make sure that was the only other.
Look at that email, Nick Patty.
Talking point. The other thing is the widely positive reception to Joseph Newgarden celebrating with the crowd.
That was super cool.
It was super cool. There were a lot of people talking about it. They were like, wow, you realize how much more entertaining a celebration is when there's not someone waiting at the front straight to interview the driver who gets out of the car. Obviously making a slight at Formula One, and I agree.
Absolutely, yeah.
NASCAR, you can do donuts and climb the fence or whatever.
Yeah.
F1 needs to get rid of the on the track. Now, don't get me wrong. I love when the cars pull up and the drivers get out.
Sure. Super cool. It's a whole thing.
But if they got out of the car, took their helmet off, and just ran into the crowd or ran onto the fence, I think that'd be a much better use of the little victory celebration.
Yeah.
And then, Ben, you can run through the order. I promise. And then after that, we can adjust the Marcus Ericsson comments, I assume.
Yes. So by the way, if you didn't notice from what Nick just said, Joseph Newgarden has won the 107th Indianapolis 500. It is just some quick stats on Joseph Newgarden. It's his first Indy 500 win. It's the 19th win for Team Penske, the first being 1974, 78, something like that. Long time ago. They've been doing this for a while. Joseph Newgarden started racing in 2012. He's done 187 races, including this most recent Indy 500, and he has 2 Indy championships in 2017 and 2019. Now, your finishing order. I am going to run through all of this, so yes, be patient. Obviously, finishing on top, Joseph Newgarden for Team Penske, followed by Marcus Ericsson, who is your 2022 Indy 500 winner, followed by Santino Ferrucci in third, finishing off the podium, and Alex Palou in fourth, who was your pole sitter for this Indy 500 with a lap time, or a 4-lap average of 234.5, something like that. Real fast. Fastest ever recorded average lap speed for the Indy 500. Alexander Rossi in fifth. Scott Dixon sixth. Takuma Sato, who you hear every time in our intro, finished seventh. Connor Daly eighth. Colton Herta for Andretti ninth. Renus VK 10th. Ryan Hunter-Ray 11th. Callum Ilott 12th. Devlin DeFrancesco in 13th. Scott McLaughlin 14th, Helio Castroneves 15th, Tony Kanaan 16th. Do we want to talk about Tony Kanaan for a second?
Yeah, if you want.
So Tony Kanaan, for those of you who don't know, currently races for Arrow McLaren, and this was his final Indy 500. Now, this could be one of those things where a driver retires and then they come back in like 3 years, but it did seem pretty sincere that this is his final Indy 500.
Were very... He went into it knowing it was his last, rather than his last racing, and then he's like, oh, you know what, that was really fun, I want to do it again. So he won his first Indy 500 and his only Indy 500 in 2013, I believe. He's a Brazilian, and I thought it was really sweet because apparently he made a promise to his dad before his dad passed away, and his dad is the one that got him into go-karting and then sacrificed everything to put him in go-karting. He promised to his dad before his dad passed away that he'd win the Indy 500, and he did. So kind of similar to Nico Rosberg in the sense that they both had a goal, and they both achieved that goal. And while Tony Kanaan raced for another 10 years, and Nico retired instantaneously, they're both very mature in the sense that when they achieved what they wanted to achieve, they realized that, and they were okay with hanging it up. So
Tony Kanaan, 296 races over 23 years.
Wow.
He started in 2004. Actually, his first race ever was the 2002 Indy 500. So he made his IndyCar debut at the 500, 16 wins, 73 podiums, 11 pole positions, and he did win the Indy 500 in 2013. And he finished off his final Indy 500 in a respectable 16th. Marco Andretti in 17th, Jack Harvey 18th, Christian Lundgaard 19th, Ed Carpenter 20th, Benjamin Peterson 21st, Graham Rahal 22nd, Will Power 23rd, Pato O'Ward, who for a while looked like he could have done it. Pato O'Ward, our San Antonio boy, was running strong for a good portion of this race.
And I hate to say this, it was completely his fault.
It was totally his fault. There was not, if you look at the accident, completely his fault.
And I don't like how he responded, where he goes, "I'm going to remember that one." It's like, dude.
Yeah, it's totally his fault.
Like Ericsson came down on you when you were already there.
Right.
He was kind of holding his line.
And you went low, and then if you look at it, it's clearly Pato O'Ward's fault. But I did
from two experts who
have
infinite IndyCar.
Right. I've won the Indy 500, countless times.
Easily a dozen. It's really not that hard.
Right. I've been at all of them, actually. And Pato O'Ward, sadly, had an accident in this race. I can't remember. It was like lap 156 or something like that. What was that?
He had an oopsie daisy.
He did. He did have indeed what we call an oopsie daisy. Simon Pagenaud finishing 25th. Augustin Canapino in 26th.
That
Felix,
was a weird crash because Pato was like stranded in the track, Augustin Canapino had no control over his car. The brakes weren't working. And it was like maybe 15 miles an hour.
It was a real slow crash. Like when I saw it,
and the car went all four up and launched, and then
landed back down on the. So
Yes.
when I saw that, I thought it was in slow motion, and then you see another car go flying by, and you're like, oh no, they're actually just going really slow, and his brakes didn't work, and he had steering problems or something. Because you can see if you look on top of the camera of was it Pagano's car? Who hit who? I can't remember.
Wait, say that again? Augustin Canapino hit Pato Award.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry, that's what it was. So the camera on top of Pato Ward's car that was facing backwards, you see Canapino hit the wall and then come back off and then just drive into the back of Award's car. It's a very odd crash.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no one hurt in any of the crashes this weekend, considering there were some big ones. So happy to see that. Felix Rosenquist, 27th. Kyle Kirkwood, 28th. David Malachus, 29th. Roman Grosjean, P30. Stingray Robb, 31st for his rookie Indy 500. RC Anderson, 32nd. And Catherine Ligier, 33rd.
Leg.
Is it leg? Sorry. I apologize.
Hey,
leg.
That's what I'm
My
here
bad.
for. If I wasn't the
My
resident pronunciation expert, I wouldn't.
It's why Nick's here, really. He holds the podcast together.
I get paid nothing to do this is because I'm the pronunciation expert.
Right. Now let's talk about the last lap, because for some reason
There's two controversies, too.
there's a few controversies. However, from a viewing standpoint, fantastic. Spectacular. For starters, if you have learned anything from this, if you take nothing else away from this podcast,
except for Fernando
what you should know is that Formula One is a trash sport and you shouldn't watch it. I mean, you should, because it's good, but it's not good racing. It's always like, for starters, we'll get to it. We had one of the best Monaco Grand Prix I've ever watched, and the INDY500 was multiples better.
Yep.
So we'll talk about this last lap. So, like I said, at the end of the race, there were 3 red flags that seemingly happened one after another. It was 3 red flags in the course of like 20 laps.
As they say in NASCAR, cautions breed cautions.
Exactly.
Which is a weird way to sexualize cautions, but
it is. I don't know. Has anyone asked the cautions if they're okay with this? But
a double wave yellow, I'm telling you.
But so yellow flag, they're driving around. There's 2 laps to go. They come around turn 4, right onto the front straight. Green flags wave. Marcus Ericsson is leading from Joseph Newgarden, right? They go across the
point. It's a green and white at the same time restart. It's not a
right. Yes,
white separate. It's literally when they come across the finish line. It's another 2.5 miles, and that's it. Done. A
lap, and then you're done. So Ericsson's leading. Newgarden is behind him. Ericsson obviously winning last year. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, he's going to do it 2 years in a row."
That would be the first time since Helio Castroneves in
2007 and 8.
Was
I think so. I don't know, something like that. But everyone was very excited because Ericsson was going to do it. They go around turn 1, turn 2. They're fine. Coming out of turn 2, Joseph Newgarden has a massive run out of turn 2.
Yep.
Onto the back straight, passes Marcus Ericsson, and then holds the lead across the line. Now, Nick Patty, would you like to explain the drama that is Marcus Ericsson?
So, 2 bits of drama. First of all,
yes.
This is very reminiscent of Abu Dhabi 2021 for Marcus Ericsson. I think for everybody else, not even remotely as
not a problem.
White kind of as Abu Dhabi is, where it's like, here are the rules, here's what they did, not the same.
Right.
The thing in this scenario is that it had never been done before, but that wasn't because it wasn't allowed, or it wasn't because there was a rule against it happening.
It's a weird crack in the rules that just no one had been in before, so they didn't need to write a rule for it. So what they did technically didn't break the rules.
The normal restart procedure is 1 sighting lap after a red flag and then going green. So theoretically, that sighting lap would have been under yellow, but that would have been the last lap of the race.
Right.
The organizers decided out of the red flag, the pace car would lead the Indy cars out of pit lane, and then literally 3 corners later pull in, and the cars have 1 lap of green flag racing.
Yep.
Because similarly to the Coke 600, it is a mileage race, not a timed race. So any lap completed counts. So once you kind of come up against the end, the max count, you can't extend or push or green, white, checkered or whatever. It's just the mileage. So Marcus Ericsson's perspective is we need a sighting lap to get the tires up to temperature. But also, if there was a sighting lap and it ended under yellow, Marcus Ericsson would have won the damn race.
Would have won the race.
That's the real reason.
Right. I don't know if something to note about this is no one else is complaining about this.
There were 1 or 2 drivers that were like, I don't really care. Like,
right. But like, no one's throwing as much of a fit as Marcus Ericsson. No one really said anything.
It's not fair and this and that. And it's like, listen, at the end of the day, it is fair because it was settled by racing.
Right.
And unlike Lewis's claims where he says it's unfair or it was stolen and there's an argument there.
Right. Totally understandable.
Nothing that IndyCar did was prohibited by rules, and nothing IndyCar did was starkly and directly contrasted to precedent. It was just different, but not contrasting. So that was Marcus Ericsson's complaint. Another big complaint and controversy that's going on is the weaving down the front straight to break the draft because it's so powerful in IndyCar. So a lot of people are complaining that it is, especially on the last lap, Newgarden went so far to the inside, they're crossing.
He went. Like, when I saw that, I thought he had a mechanical failure, something, with how far he dived left. He was across the white line.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, they will typically go a car width inside, like the pit wall, where you're like, they're going to hit the pit wall.
Oh my gosh, nuts.
And it's very dramatic watching it because they're Indy cars, so they boom, 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 back.
Right.
And a lot of people are saying it's not safe, this needs to be eliminated, but then the other side is saying, oh, F1 fans discovered real racing. You can't.
Wow.
You can't handle it. Maybe we should get rid of 3 wides because that's dangerous too. Oh no, we don't have racing. Here's my quick and easy solution. You can do the weaving within track limits. Done.
Problem solved.
Yes. Oh,
yes. Saving the world once again.
Thank you.
You know what? IndyCar, you can have that one for free. That one's on us. On us.
That one's free of charge.
Yeah.
Tickets to the INDY500 next year for the next bit of advice of how to
would be nice.
Last thing, favorite part of the race, Tony Kanaan's pass on the grass, channeling Dale Earnhardt at
pretty legendary
miles an hour, all 4 off in the grass.
When I saw that, so because I wasn't watching it live, I went back and I rewinded it like 3 times, and I was like, I've never driven a Wing and Slicks car, but they don't do that.
No, they don't. They don't.
I mean, so I went and it popped up on my TikTok today is Dale's famous on the grass pass. And it popped up today.
Way sketchier too.
Looked way sketchier. But I'm like, but that's a NASCAR. Right. Like, there is actually some Monte Carlo in there. This is a carbon tubbed thing at like 210 miles an hour. This dude's a psychopath.
Yep.
And he's like, if it's my last one, I'm going out like a hero.
They can carry me out on a stretcher.
Whatever, man. We're fine. If we're going out.
His poor wife was probably like, you bastard. Like, you need to come home to me and our kid. If you're throwing it on the ground for the last one.
Oh my gosh. She was probably like, yep, this is it. You're no more. None.
Last Indy500, last day married, same day.
Same day. What an absolute legend. So that was the Indy500, which is a race that Nick and I both look forward to every year. For sure the best race of the weekend. So now we're going to move on to a race that was actually better than it should have been.
Hey, when tickets go on sale, do you want to go to the Indy500 next year?
So I was actually thinking about going to the Indy500 in 4 years. Because I have a weird desire to go to the 111th Indy500. I don't know why. Yeah, whatever. I mean, you can go. I don't care. But I'm just saying.
No.
Like, it's on the list, so I'm either going to go to the one...
The first year that North Wilkesboro was on the NASCAR calendar as a normal race, we'll go.
Yeah, okay. There we go. That's what we'll do.
There we go. Hey, NASCAR, you can have that one for free. That one's free.
You can have that one. Free for you, not free for us. We're gonna have to pay
Oh,
for
of course,
tickets.
we're gonna pay out.
But this past weekend was the Monaco Grand Prix for Formula One. Now, normally, this race recently has been getting a lot of hate.
Which is a shame because it's F1's fault.
It's true, it is. It is no one's fault other than themselves.
Go back and watch early 2000s Monaco races when the cars were
totally fine.
Fantastic.
The cars are too big. The track isn't big enough. You can't pass. Blah 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 blah. Anyway,
a little bit of rain.
Add a little bit of rain, things get really spicy. But speaking of spicy, qualifying. This was one of the best qualifying sessions I've watched in a long time. Nick Petty doesn't want to talk about it. Nick, if you wanna earmuffs just for this.
Shelby posted a video on Twitter, and she was videoing me, and I didn't realize it, for Max's final lap in quali. And I'm sitting there, I'm leaned forward. I'm like, come on. And then Max is in sector 2. It's like, all right, chill, Max. Like, chill, stop.
We're good.
So, and then
2/10 behind, by the way.
All in Casino Square, or all in Rascasse. I was like,
yeah.
He comes across the line. There's that moment, and I literally launched myself backwards, and in a pitch of voice I've never reached, yelled "fuck." And Shelby was just like, "I'm sorry, babe." She was like, "I was so excited to catch you excited," and I was like,
"It's actually the worst moment of my life."
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm gonna
dude,
cry.
I'll tell you what. So I'll run through the qualifying order. Some of it will make sense, some of it will not, and then we can kind of talk about the qualifying drama. So starting at the bottom, this is where things get exciting. P20, Sergio Perez. That was the first bit of exciting news. Sergio Perez, on his second lap, puts it into the wall, which is
in the street. So I was just like,
yeah. So for starters, Sergio Perez is known for two things. Number one, being really good at street circuits.
And
number two, his dad. And number three, allegedly crashing on purpose at Monaco last year. Allegedly. So it was very funny, all the memes of being like, hey, you're supposed to crash in Q3, not Q1. Yeah, it was the whole thing. Sergio Perez, P20, put it into the wall. Zhou Guanyu. At the end of the year, we will talk about the teams and their performance.
Yeah, we don't know where we go. Where are we in our predictions, Ben? I haven't gotten a prediction update.
I need to do prediction update for this race, but you are ahead substantially. So that's why I haven't brought it up. You are ahead substantially. Zhou Guanyu, P20. Nico Hülkenberg, 18th. Kevin Magnussen, 17th. Haas in their rightful position. Logan Sargent, barely missing out on Q2.
And I'll give it to Logie Sarge. He beat the Haas.
He beat both Haas, and he was it 56 thousandths off of Valtteri Bottas? Incredibly close. Very close.
And it's first time ever around Monaco.
First time around Monaco. Very impressive.
Not in an F1 car. First time, period.
Ever. Valtteri Bottas, 15th, of course. Lance Stroll with a dismal performance for an Aston Martin in 14th. Yeah, probably season. Alex Albon in 13th. Nick De Vries in 12th. Our other rookie, Nick De Vries, in 12th, just behind Oscar Piastri, who I believe was quoted as being hot garbage, is in 11th. Lando Norris, P10. A pretty, I'll be honest, solid weekend for the McLarens given their season. It looks like they've made some progress. Maybe they're just the only ones that know how to drive around Monaco. I don't know.
Yeah, except for Lando Norris cracking his suspension twice.
Happens to the best of us. Lando Norris at P10, Yuki Tsunoda P9, George Russell P8. Big news for this weekend, the W14 has side pods. It's supposed to change the world peace, world hunger, fix all of it. It didn't fix anything. George Russell P8, and I can prove that because P7, Pierre Gasly. And just in front of Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, P5, Esteban Ocon, P4 in qualifying. An outstanding performance from the Alpine driver.
Oh, thank God.
At one point was P1. This was when things got exciting.
Okay.
You're watching.
When that happened, I literally, exasperatedly went, Ocon? I was like, fucking Ocon? Like,
dude, that's exactly what
I was like, it's Alonso's on pole, but it's not Verstappen. It's not Checo. It's not Leclerc. The guy that's going to take Alonso's pole is Ocon.
It's Esteban Ocon.
I'm not kidding you. I have never wanted to feel the cold embrace of a 45 more.
Nick Patty,
Yes.
can you tell me, in the past, however many races we've had this season, this is race what, 6, 7, something like that? This is race 6. In the past 5 races, where has Esteban Ocon finished or qualified? Can you tell me? No, because Esteban Ocon is never anywhere, and all of a sudden he's really fast. Sorry to Alpine fans, but no one cares. Like, I don't know why he was so fast. The Alpine just suited this track, I suppose. Charles Leclerc, P3. We'll get to that in a second. Fernando Alonso, P2.
By 85 thousandths of a second.
An outstanding qualifying. The man, for starters, I don't understand how he does it. I don't get it. It makes no sense. I've tried. I've called people. I'm like, hey, do you become a better athlete with age?
Ben's like,
and it doesn't work.
At Muscle Rod, and he said he has no idea.
Nobody knows. But what people do know is that inevitably Max Verstappen, P1 in qualifying, the man was down 0.2
Yep.
through sectors 1 and 2.
Yep.
And then in sector 3, somehow found 0.3 where we don't know. He stole them he robbed the casino and found 0.3 and somehow found P1.
Well,
which
my
was
this weekend is Shelby turned to me as I was excited before the last lap of qualifying.
But before catastrophe, yes.
Yeah, and she was like, I am so happy to get to see you be able to see your hero do well. She was like, because you were there with the McLaren Honda years. You were there for all that crap. And she goes, and now you get to see him do well. And I'm sitting there as I see all the Aston Martin Alonso hats in the crowd at Monaco, and I was like, you goddamn
posers.
You liars. You are fake and a fraud. I was wearing my McLaren Mercedes Alonso hat because the last time he won there was in the McLaren Mercedes.
Yep.
And so I was like, I'm giving good vibes. Like, I'm giving
Yep.
good
All the good juju. So, real quick, small tangent before we get to the results and the actual race itself. Big news. Aston Martin has signed a deal with Honda. 2026 going forward. Honda.
You know what I love? Alonso signed a 3-year deal, which takes him this year, 24, 25. When they signed this deal, the talk wasn't, oh, wow, Aston Martin's going to have Honda. Wow, Aston Martin's going to have a really damn good engine. It was Fernando Alonso's going to make it.
Fernando Alonso's going to have a good car.
And then Honda was saying, like, he's a genius. He's brilliant. We have no problem working with him.
Yeah, again. the CEO of Honda.
I was like,
the CEO of Honda came out.
No shot. Honda's gonna say to Aston, like, we're coming on board, but we would like Fernando to be there. And then, like, I don't know if you've seen, but the chat, quote unquote, is now like Yuki Tsunoda is gonna replace Lance Stroll.
That's what I've heard.
And it's gonna be Alonso and Tsunoda. I would
love that. That'd be fantastic.
Bro, I saw a meme and it was a picture of Fernando and Yuki standing next to each other at Monaco, but 2 years ago. And it goes, my favorite, somewhat short, fast F1 driver and Yuki.
That's awesome. That's funny. That's really good.
Dude, if Alonso can make a second good career move, which I know is a lot to ask. I know that's like
statistically speaking, he's not good at those.
The budget was 1, and now I'm asking 2.
Right.
If he's able to stay through 2026, and Aston doesn't even improve, but doesn't get worse, just pluck a Honda motor in there.
Yep.
And at the same time, this is key, guys. It's not just that Aston Martin's getting Honda. Honda's not using Red Bull. So Red Bull, if you remember, signed with Ford, quote unquote. So Red Bull may not even be a front-running team by 2026.
Right. We have no idea.
And Aston Martin's going to get the best I'm calling it now. Fernando Alonso, World Drivers Champion, 2026. I'm throwing it out there. And he will
big stuff.
He will be
big stuff.
44 years old, which, unless I'm mistaken, will make him theoretically the second oldest world champion behind Juan Manuel Fangio.
Yes, that is actually correct.
So, Ben,
Yes.
Dive into the race if you would like.
Into the race. Well, what a race it was. Monaco.
Well, it wasn't until it was.
It wasn't until it was. So, rumors going into the weekend. Weather says there's going to be rain. Could there be rain? Could it spice it up? If you remember Monaco last year, we had rain for the whole race. Worst Monaco ever. It was terrible. It was incredibly boring. It was very slow. You could have, really, it was a Saturday race. You watch qualifying and then you go sick and then leave. And that's it. That's all you needed.
This is a very random sidebar. Did you know that F1 TV plays the Super Cup races?
Do they? Really?
So, I was watching Super Cups around Monaco on F1 TV. That shit is crazy.
Oh, Super Cups are so good this
we
year.
were watching the onboard around Monaco. She's like, why are they doing this? Like, they're batshit insane. Because they're full-size cars.
Yep.
All four wheels in the air over the curbs. The cars are sliding.
So good.
I want more of this.
Yeah.
It's like the Clarkson, like, this is good. And it's
This is good.
But
I like this.
I want this, and it's Super Cup.
I'd like it noted. I have that saved in my phone as like a GIF, and it's the most used one that I have. It's perfect for everything. It's useful.
I promise I'm going to zip my lip until we get to Fernando in the race. Go.
Okay. So, our race started off dry, and then we hit about lap 50. Lap 45, lap 50.
Out of 78.
Out of 78, by the way. And then we get some rain. And then approximately 2 laps later, it's pouring. There is so much rain on the track.
Well, and it's pouring in 2 corners.
Right. There's some parts of the track that are dry. If you look at the different camera viewpoints, there's parts of the track that are dry, and the only water is carried there from the F1 cars. Now, some things to note. Max Verstappen started the race on mediums. He once again defied Pirelli's rules and ran 50 laps on a set of medium tires.
Rough.
They looked ruined. It doesn't make sense. And some people were getting off of the hard tire before Max was getting off the medium. It makes no sense. Here's the thing.
That's where you're wrong, Adrian Newey.
Right. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. As much as Nick and I don't like Red Bull winning, you got to give it to the guy. The man he is an outstanding driver. You don't have to like him.
This weekend,
I want anybody to win other than Max Verstappen, but the man is a machine. He is in a league of his own.
And I was like, maybe I have to admit that Max Verstappen, at his best, may or may not be better than Fernando. I can't, like...
Right, that I'm going to put that in the notes. I need to clip this out. I'm going to save this for later. This is important. I need to keep this one.
Here's the thing. I was too young for Fernando's Renault days to remember more than just a few highlights in my memory.
Mm-hmm.
But and again, Alonso was not in comparably as dominant of a car as the RB19.
True.
This car is. So I have to factor that in, because if you put Max, I think if you put Max in an Aston Martin, I don't think he's going as fast as Fernando. Because Fernando in an Aston Martin is so close to what Max is in a Red Bull.
Right.
So it's because like what he did this weekend, I was sitting there and I'm like, Fernando's not going to make a mistake in the rain. It's just not going to happen. Like, the pressure's on Max.
Yeah, he's so good in the rain.
Like, there's gotta be a slip up, and he just did. Same thing in qualifying. I'm sitting.
Nothing made sense, dude.
Just make a mistake. Just choke, and he doesn't.
So in qualifying, Max Verstappen, after he does that stellar lap that makes no sense to anybody, he comes in, into Parc Fermé and is like laughing, talking with engineer. He's like, man, I absolutely like murdered this one wall. And you see his car, and on the right side, the front right wheel, so they're on softs, which is the red tire. There's red paint missing on the tire. Like, he scraped past, the dude was wall riding. You can't even do that in Forza. Like, it makes no sense. Anyway, dry race. Wet race, pours rain for like 5 minutes.
And it was like Lance Stroll was racing perpetually on banana peels in Mario Kart.
Yep, and because of that, Lance Stroll hit a wall, not once, but twice. So Lance Stroll, P20, DNF. Kevin Magnussen, P19, DNF. Because Haas forgot about him, and he did 55 laps on hard tires in the rain. I'm sorry, Kevin. We will remember you. Logan Sargent, P18. Not the race we wanted, but first race at Monaco. You know, it is what it is. Nico Hülkenberg, P17. Sergio Perez, P16. Now, this was probably the worst race we've ever seen for Sergio while he's been at Red Bull. Now, this is all because of the crash, and Monaco is a notoriously difficult track to overtake at, so it has to be a strategy thing. So what they did, which was genius to start off, was start them on mediums. So if you don't know, the rule in F1 is you have to do at least one pit stop and change tire compounds. You can't go from mediums to mediums. You have to go from mediums to hards or something like that. You have to change compounds. So we start on mediums. 1 lap, straight into the pits, put on hards, and they were just going to try to run him to the end, is what I'm assuming was happening. Was they were just going to try to undercut the whole field. And I assumed it was going to work. I thought he was going to be in the points by the end of the race. Did not work because of the rain. Totally threw it off. So he didn't undercut anybody, and he just got stuck in traffic and then had to go on inters like everybody else. Yuki Tsunoda, P15, did not like this race whatsoever in the rain. There's some very entertaining commentary of him yelling at his engineer about his engineer trying to kill Yuki for adjusting brake settings and pick up the pace while it's pouring rain. Yuki did not like that. He's a very vocal man, Yuki. Alex Albon, P14, not much about his race. Pretty normal. Did have some close contact with some wall a couple times. Yep. Zhou Guanyu, P13. Nick De Vries, pretty non-existent race. P12. Valtteri Bottas, P11. Oscar Piastri in the points. Well done, Oscar. Lando Norris, P9. Pretty respectable race for the McLarens. They have been doing good this season. That's some good points grabbed for them. Carlos Sainz, P...
was not smooth nor operating.
Was not. P8 for him. Pierre Gasly, P7. Well done to him. He kept his position from qualifying. Well done, Pierre Gasly. Charles Leclerc, P6. Now, something we did not talk about is in qualifying, Charles Leclerc got a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Lando Norris. So in the tunnel, Charles Leclerc was driving slowly. He was on a cooldown lap on the racing line. You cannot do that. He got a 3-place grid penalty. He started 6th. He finished 6th. George Russell, P5. Lewis Hamilton, P4. Esteban Ocon, P3, which is where he would have started because of Charles' grid penalty. Fernando Alonso, P2. Max Verstappen, P1. Now, Nick, would you like to talk about Aston Martin's extra pit stop? No? Okay, in which case, I'll bring it up.
Start to Steve Rogers. No, I don't think I will.
I don't think I will. So, Aston Martin tried to be all cheeky. Oh, it stopped raining. It's going to dry out. Let's pit Fernando.
Apparently, that wasn't the case.
Was not the case.
I've heard reports that it was actually just a miscommunication, and that literally the call was
really
the intermediates, and the pit crew did the wrong thing.
Oh, that's so much worse. Never mind. I don't want to talk about it either. Aston Martin had a strategy blunder, and I don't know that it cost Fernando the race.
It did because on that lap, Verstappen made that mistake coming down before the tunnel. I don't know the name.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
the gap was only 4 seconds when Alonso pit.
Yep, that's right.
Assuming that Verstappen continuing on a wet lap after making an error. The only error of the entire race, Alonso would have been in front. Now, here's the thing. He wouldn't have had a gap. But Verstappen in the wet would not have gotten past Fernando. Wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I already tried to punch the wall enough.
So a rare strategy blunder from Aston Martin. But overall, a very entertaining race at Monaco. We rarely get this entertaining of a race. The result was kind of predictable, given that first and second finished first and second, but it was a lot between the start and the finish. So overall, good race from Monaco. Sorry, I don't have an update on our little comparison for predictions. Nick, Patty, would you like to talk about NASCAR. Oh, no, I'm going to run through Formula Drift real quick. I'm going to take 2 minutes and do that. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. No. So this past weekend, we did have round 3 of Formula Drift in Orlando at Orlando Speed World. And your qualifying was Ryan Turk in that Toyota Corolla, Chelsea DeNofa for RTR, Kazuya Taguchi in that turbo V6 powered GR86. Ryan Littoral with an outstanding qualifying performance. Ryan Littoral rarely makes it into the top 32. And all of a sudden, came out of nowhere, putting it P4 for this weekend. Outstanding for him. And Frederick Osbo, your defending champion, P5. Now, Ryan Turk, your number 1 qualifier, was knocked out of competition by Dylan Hughes in the Grade 8. We saw a great battle by teammates Chelsea DeNofa and James Dean. That's Dean with an E at the end in the Grade 8. And there was huge contact between Chelsea DeNofa and Kazuya Taguchi in their Final 4 battle. Kazuya, basically, they were drifting around a left-hander. Kazuya straightened out and basically T-boned Chelsea DeNofa. If you don't follow Formula Drift, in a battle, if there is contact, that would be you. So if there is contact, the driver not at fault gets 10 minutes. And for every race day, for competition day, you are allowed 1 5-minute competition timeout. So they used the 10 minutes given to them and the 5-minute competition timeout, and they were able to fix that car. They basically had to replace the entire suspension on the left rear of the car. So axles, upper lower control arms, coilovers, that sort of stuff. Apparently they sheared a camber plate off in that contact, and they were able to get it back in just 15 minutes. So DeNofa then moved on because Kazuya Taguchi was at fault for his chase run. So when he did a lead run, DeNofa just had a very simple chase run, just finished the run basically, and he got the win in their Final 4 battle. So he moved on to battle Frederick Osbo in that final round, and your results are as follows. Chelsea DeNofa did get the win this weekend in Orlando, followed by Frederick Osbo, and then Kazuya Taguchi in 3rd. I do believe that Chelsea DeNofa has just barely surpassed Matt Field in the championship so far this year. We do have a while. I think we're mid-June till the next FD round. Nick, Patty, would you like to talk about the Coca-Cola 600 that was today and not yesterday?
We have some tea. So, overlooking the Coca-Cola 600, we have mid-race rain delay. We have wrecks. We have retaliation. And Denny Hamlin has receipts. This shit is spicy. Okay, so I'm going to go through the results of the top. Well, let's do 15. 15th, sure. Justin Haley in the 31 Chevy. 14th, AJ Allmendinger in the number 16 Chevy. 13th is Ryan Preece in the Mustang. Alex Bowman in 12th in the Chevy, who actually, this is his first race back after fracturing a vertebrae in
that sounds uncomfy.
Kevin Harvick in 11th. Zane Smith filling in 10th. Austin Dillon in the number 3 car in 9th. Chris Buescher in 8th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 7th. Kyle Busch in 6th. And then Tyler Reddick in 5th, Bubba Wallace in 4th, Martin Truex Jr. in 3rd, William Byron in 2nd, and breaking his 59 race losing streak, Ryan Blaney in 1st, which is the first time in the team history that Penske has swept both the Coke 600 and the Indy 500 in the same year.
That's pretty cool, actually.
That's pretty cool. But that top 15 does not at all reflect what happened in this race. There were 20 to 30 lap periods of green flag racing that were, I know, Ben, hard to convince you of, but as good as the IndyCar racing. Because there were unique lines on the oval. So there was consistent 3-wide racing. At points,
fantastic
racing. Guys where the guy on the high side slows mid-corner 1 second. The guy low side, cuts the corner tight.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
You look like
no, please.
He shit himself and is looking at the teacher like, oh, I need to go.
I need to go to the bathroom. Sorry, Nick, please continue.
No, I've lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, I was just gonna say I would watch NASCAR if I could, but I don't have
Do you
TV,
want
so
my
I can't.
TV provider login? That's actually my
I'm-
mom's TV provider login.
I might. I'll absolutely steal your stuff so I can watch NASCAR. I'll do that. Okay. Sorry, please continue wherever you are.
But basically, there was people were passing high side, middle track, low side. It was great. It was Ford, Mustang, and Chevy all battling for the lead at multiple points. The fastest cars all day were Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, and then at times there were some other cars up there. Joey Logano had a stint up towards the front. Christopher Bell had a stint up towards the front. Ty Gibbs was running in the top 10 all day. But we did have a few accidents. And I'm not
It is NASCAR.
them. However, I'm going to go through the one that has the most controversy attached to it.
Okay.
So, fighting hard is Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
2 champions,
Mm-hmm.
veterans. Denny Hamlin, coming out of turn 4, ran Chase Elliott up towards the wall. And as is typical in NASCAR, you know, the car on the outside will scrape the wall, will rub the wall. You'll see some tires,
Sure.
but they rebound off of it. Now, if you don't know, Charlotte has, I don't know what it's actually called. It's not a dog leg, but the tri-oval, like the actual kind of kinks in there's no, anyway.
Right.
It's like Texas Motor Speedway. And so as they came into that, it was in between that and the start-finish line. Chase Elliott comes off the wall, straightens the car, and then turns directly into Denny Hamlin. But it was on Denny Hamlin's right rear. So for those of you all listening, you're like, I'm trying to imagine what's going on. Chase Elliott hits Denny Hamlin on the outside, which spins Denny Hamlin into the outside wall, obviously not into the tri-oval, not into the grass where there's plenty of runoff. Or he spins him, and at about 180 miles an hour, Denny Hamlin plows straight into the wall.
Ouch.
And I'm telling you, Ben, the entire front of the car crinkled to the point where the engine was just like destroyed. Like the entire front end of that car was pulverized. And Denny Hamlin on the onboard, when you see that, like his whole body snapped so viciously forward. I was
Shout out to the Hans device.
Yeah, well, I was like, it was scary.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin in the post race, he was cleared from the infield care center. Denny Hamlin says he's a baby. He was having a temper tantrum. He shouldn't be allowed to race next weekend. Like that should be an automatic 1 race ban. It was retaliation.
Okay.
Chase Elliott is, yeah, man, I don't know what happened. He goes, it's really a shame. Denny ran us up into the wall, and you know, as you all know, it's impossible to control the car once you get into the wall. And yeah, it just, and then he conveniently skips over what happens, and he goes, it's really a shame for my Napa Auto Parts Chevy. We were really hoping to, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you got something. So
forgot a minor detail in there about where you turned a dude into the wall.
Denny Hamlin, 2 hours ago, posted the telemetry from the steering column of Chase Elliott's car. And the speeds are fairly consistent. The brakes are fairly consistent. The you know, all that. So you have Denny Hamlin at the point of contact giving about 20 degrees of steering input. Okay. Chase Elliott at the time of contact had 160 degrees of left pointed steering input. Which, for context,
I don't know what happened.
Is more than any steering input on any oval.
On any oval to ever exist. There's never been that much angle ever needed for an oval.
So, Denny Hamlin's tweet was a picture on a laptop of the team analytics. And I'm quoting his tweet. Removing all doubt, his steering came back to the exact same position it had previously after we came off the wall. And then he turned off comments and he added one response. And he goes, absolute left hook. Cranked the wheel 4 times harder left than he did making any corner throughout the whole day. Bullshit move. So,
love me a salty American. It's my favorite.
I didn't like Chase Elliott already. He put Denny Hamlin's life in danger, and I'm no fan of Denny Hamlin.
But
Lies
still,
about it nonchalantly on Memorial Day and says, I don't know what happened. As if
don't know what
everyone
happened.
who watches the race are idiots.
Doesn't know that.
Denny Hamlin's like, this you?
Shit. I don't know.
What did Chase Elliott's like, nah, they don't have data. Nobody knows what's going on inside that car.
Oh, that's funny. That's awesome.
So that's about it for NASCAR. The winner, like I said,
I love
Ryan
that.
Blaney ending his winless streak. But the biggest drama was definitely the Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin stuff. My short opinion, Chase Elliott should absolutely get a race ban, if not more. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who your daddy is. It doesn't matter how popular you are. It doesn't matter what team you race for. You put someone's life at danger, and there is absolutely no excuse for that. Last thing.
Yep.
Bubba Wallace got suspended for this exact same thing with Kyle Larson, and it was a lot less obvious. Oh, also, there's one more piece of controversy. I forgot. During the rain break, Eric Almirola came up to Bubba Wallace and shoved him very hard twice, just like completely unprovoked. And Bubba Wallace, his reaction was, well, when you're a two-faced, you got that coming to you. So good for you, Bubba Wallace. Anyway.
Also, we didn't talk about it, and I'm very upset because it's my favorite thing to happen in NASCAR in the past, 10 years. Ross Chastain, Noah Gragson.
Oh,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Ross Chastain. He's my hero. I'm saying, I'll be honest, I really don't care about any of the drivers once Junior stopped racing. But I'll tell you what, Ross Chastain's got a heck of a right hook, man. He can throw a punch.
He at Bristol is racing Xfinity.
Perfect.
In a
that is awesome.
Mayo Chevrolet Corvette.
God bless America. Anyway, last thing we're going to touch on is the Isle of Man. And I'm only touching on this because
it started.
Because it started today, and it takes 2 weeks, and next week I'll be out of town, so we won't get to touch on it for 2.5 weeks.
You're going to be out of town for a much cooler reason.
Yeah, but I'll be out of town during Isle of Man week, so we won't be recording for me to do updates and stuff on it. So I can talk about it now, kind of explain it.
Instagram live stream though, just saying while you're out there.
I'm going to try. I'll see what kind of service I have there. I don't know. Hopefully I'll be able to. But I'm going to talk about the Isle of Man because it started today, and it is one of my favorite races that happens every year. So it started today. All of this week is qualifying. It's qualifying today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So it's qualifying all week for all the classes. And in the opening qualifying session of the 23 Isle of Man TT, Michael Dunlop set the pace, topping all 4 solo classes.
That's impressive.
Including an unofficial lap record in the Super Twin category with a lap of 122.907 miles per hour. Wow. Now, something to note, Isle of Man, they run the race kind of like how Indy does qualifying. It's based off of mile an hour, not time. Time is a factor, but really it's mile per hour. So your superbike class, which is bikes that are derived from production bikes, they're 1,000 cc's with over 200 horsepower. So that's the same kind of bikes you'd see in World Superbike, British Superbike, Moto America, that sort of thing. That kind of superbike. And Michael Dunlop on his Hawk Racing Honda Fireblade did a 131.782 mile per hour run. In super stock class, which is essentially stock bikes with race fairings, so stock engine, stock frame, stock electronics. On a different Fireblade, Michael Dunlop did a 130.426 mile per hour run. In Super Sport, which is based on 600cc inline 4 bikes or 675cc inline 3 bikes, Michael Dunlop on a Yamaha R6 did a 127.019 mile an hour run. In sidecar, they're sidecars.
Yes, they're very
Peter Founds. If you watch nothing else, watch sidecars.
Yeah.
Those dudes are psychopaths.
They're dogs, actually.
Pilot Pete Founds and monkey Yevon Walmsley did a 100. Yevon Walmsley.
I heard.
I did. Oh, so sorry. Non-motorcycle race people. So there's the driver, which is the dude that's on the motorcycle like a motorcycle.
All right.
And then the guy that hangs off the side is referred to as the monkey.
I don't think that it aged very well.
Well, they like the term co-driver, but if you talk to dudes that don't race sidecars, monkey. They did a one lap speed of 117.432 miles per hour. That unofficial lap record was in Super Twins, which is obviously two-cylinder 700cc bikes derived from middleweight road bikes. The bikes that have been winning for the past 5 years are from a company called Patton, which most people in America haven't heard of. Nick, you would like them. They're a bespoke Italian bike manufacturer. They were founded in 1958. They've got a super cool badge. And they look like they're from 1958, but they're like titanium-framed, carbon-bodied bananas. So for those of you that don't watch the Isle of Man, I'll kind of break it down super quick. So Super Stock, Super Sport, and Super Twin races are 4 laps, which is 150 miles.
On a motorcycle.
And on a motorcycle, one person. They normally pit stop every 2 laps, mostly just for fuel, not for tires. Superbike and senior races are 6 laps. So Superbike obviously being the top class. The senior race is the creme de la creme. It's kind of the blue ribbon race of the weekend. It's not its own separate class, but it is the final race on the final day of the Isle of Man, and it is run what you brung. Superbike, Super Sport, Super Stock, whatever you want. This is it, and it is 6 laps, highest top speed, winner takes all pretty much. It's the one that
mini bike.
It's the one that everyone wants to win. Please take a mini bike. Those are 6 laps, which is 226 miles, which is nuts. So qualifying takes place all this week. And something to note, riders are qualifying just for a spot, not for running order. No, because when the Isle of Man runs races, the riders are staged by 10 seconds. They don't leave as one group.
Right.
They one person goes, and then 10 seconds later, another person goes. The riders are running the race in numerical order, not qualifying order. So if you're riding bike number 2 and I'm riding bike number 5, I could qualify faster than you. You still leave before I do.
Right.
So they run in numerical order of the bike.
But saying qualifying for a spot, meaning you're not guaranteed a spot in the race.
Oh no! So that's what qualifying is. Is the race is X amount? Right? Yeah. The race is X amount of riders allowed,
right,
and there's more people there. So yeah, you're just qualifying for a spot. Races are held all of. Yes. And then races are held all of next week, finishing with the senior TT on Saturday the 10th. Another interesting thing to note, doesn't have to do with a lap time because he didn't get to do a full. He didn't get to fly across the finish line because the pit lane entrance is obviously before the finish line and the session ended, so he had to pull in early. But Peter Hickman, who's the current lap record holder at 135.45 miles an hour.
Whoa, what?
Well, that'll make sense in a second. So, current lap record at just over 135 is the first person to ever clock a speed at the Solby Speed Straight, which is the fastest straight on the Isle of Man circuit. He's the first person to ever clock over 200 miles an hour.
Wow.
On that straight. So it was rumored that in his qualifying run, if he got to finish it, he would have been doing 132, 133 on that run, as opposed to the 131 set by Michael Dunlop. So this week, look for the Instagram at the Clutch Dump. I'll be doing little updates on qualifying every day. I missed sidecar qualifying, so I'm actually going to go watch that right now. So I'll be doing little updates. You probably won't get updates from me about Isle of Man next week. You'll get updates about Le Mans next week. So that's why I wanted to bring up Isle of Man now.
Before we go, I just have to say, I did see on Twitter, Penske won Indy.
Penske won the Coca-Cola 400. Penske is running a
Porsche 963 at Le Mans.
At Le Mans, could be. So just heads up, we will have one more episode coming out this week. It's going to be a hybrid news pre-Le Mans show. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Because I have some other interesting, weird, statistic-y, factoid things that we're going to talk about, as well as some pretty cool auctions and cars that will be at Le Mans.
So many cool auctions.
It is so the Friday episode is going to be a Le Mans episode about everything that isn't the actual racing, pretty much.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that. But that is going to do it, everybody, for episode 52 of the Clutch Time. I want to give a shout out to the sudden wave of listens we had over the past weekend. We had random episodes, not our most recent episodes, random episodes sprinkled across the whole playlist on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. By the way, 3/4 of you are listening on Apple Podcasts, so shout out to Apple Podcasts. But I looked at the analytics right before this, and we had like 8 times as many listens as we normally do the past 2 days than we normally do. So shout out to that. I'm assuming it's because people had a 3-day weekend and they were like, we'll just catch up on our favorite podcast. So shout out to y'all. But that is going to do it for us. If you are listening to this on one of those beautiful podcast platforms, make sure you hit the follow or the subscribe button. Please leave us a rating. It helps us grow. It helps us grow a bigger audience. If you're watching this on YouTube, looking at our somewhat beautiful faces, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode, and make sure you like the video. That is going to do it for us here at the Clutch Dump for episode 52. We will see y'all later this week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you.